The book of Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach, chapter 12, and verse 10, and it reads, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." Verse 11, "So it's like it though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou had wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away." Verse 12, "Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith." Verse 14, "Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beast?" I want to start off by giving all praise, all honor. I'm going to continue. "Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beast?" Verse 14, "So one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity?" Verse 15, "For a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagine how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first, and though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance." I want to start off by giving all praise, all honor, all glory to Call Haloyim La Yahweh, Shem Yahushai, Shem Kodash. Double honors to the elders and to the apostles that I learned this truth from. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives, as well as the freedom to do so now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim, the Akwat out there listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say shalom. It's the brother Yahweh coming at you with another lesson through the spirit and through the power of Yahweh. Hashem Yahushai, Yahweh meaning he is, he exists, or he to be. Hashem, Baz in, Haz, the Hashem his name. Yahushai meaning he saves, or he delivers. True names of the Most High God and the Son, who people ignorantly call God and Jesus Christ, but whose true name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh. Hashem Yahushai. This lesson is inspired by this video by the guy Patrick Humphrey, and I've used his material, his videos before, but like I said again, you know, you get flagged easily on here, so I try to, I know we be busy, so sometimes brothers forget to say, copyright disclaimer or moving too fast, but again, I try to remember to throw this up. So, we familiar with Patrick Humphrey. He brings out a lot of edifying information, you know what I mean? So yeah, and it's funny because I just did a lesson about it because everybody's pushing for this, hoping that this, well, not everybody, let me retract that. The brothers and believers, we not hoping for that shit. But, these peons and these Babylonians and these worldly people, they hoping that this peace deal or peace arrangement comes into fruition. But I was at the library earlier and I came across an article and they saying Trump, I guess they supposed to sign this deal Friday, but when you take the time to think about what's all in it, it's a lot in there. Trump is saying pretty much from what I read, is saying that Trump isn't like so sure that they're going to sign. So, again, this is all at the whim of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. This is all, by his direction. So, you know what I mean? We know what the scriptures say. It may not be tarrying anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah, a lot has taken place. And like I said, I noticed again, you got that video where a lot of brothers going in or trending on that Jake that, they said took the chip that looked bugged out. So at the end of the day, that's, actually prophecy being fulfilled because it's not, we're waiting for it to be, what's that? Moab got a company. I can't remember the name of the company that pretty much been given a green light to pretty much produce those micro C hips. I meant to do a lesson on that. I forgot all about that. Meant to do a lesson on that. There's so much going on. But anyhow, Scripture said, "Never trust thine enemy." Again, like I said, Patrick Humphrey bringing out some breaking news. You know how he breaking news, breaking news. So I'm gonna play the video, but let me play this copyright disclaimer and go from there. Lord willing, you get some edification. Say copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use. So I'm going to play this Patrick Humphrey video.
We produce cars. This is big breaking news. President Trump has just activated wartime powers by authorizing the Defense Production Act. We are also seeing him issue.
You got to make sure you look into that, the Defense Production Act, but that's pretty much when, what was that, during World War II, pretty much, the men went off to the war and you had the women basically producing, the munitions. Well, you had different people producing munitions, but you had these big companies, car companies, these different companies producing munitions for the government. So looks like, no new thing under the sun.
Do a major warning on live television as well. So let's get into all the details here. You guys can see this is the meeting that he's having right now at the G7 in France. He just issued a major warning that, quote, bombs could start dropping. And we are also getting this alert here. This has just been released today, been published today, June 17th. And this is the president determination and delegation of authority under Section 708 of the Defense Production Act of 1950 as amended. So he's invoking the Defense Production Act for multiple U.S. companies to start ramping up production of critical things that the military needs. All right, you guys can see here, it's saying that I hereby find that conditions exist which may pose a direct threat to the national defense or its preparedness programs. In particular, systematic constraints in the munitions industrial base, including limited production capacity, fragile supply chains, long lead dependencies, and related production bottlenecks may impair the ability of the United States to produce, sustain, and expand the availability of munitions, missiles, and equipment required for the national defense. All right, so Trump is authorizing the Department of War and the...
And let me get that real quick, because the scriptures tell you in the book of Ecclesiasticus, Salakia, the book of Exodus, that the Most High God is a man of war. The book of Exodus chapter 15, and I'm going to start at verse 1, and it reads, Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. He is my power, and I will prepare him an habitation. My father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is a man of war. The Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is his name. And, so this is all in the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Again, they say they're the Department of War, but the Most High God is a man of war. And, again, the scriptures tell you that all these nations are going to end up in that region, to ultimately end up in the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, which is, I believe, somewhere in the country of Iraq and Babylon. Like Iraq is ancient Babylon, so somewhere in that area, that region. I'm not good with maps, but I do know that, like I said, ancient Babylon is modern day Iraq. So yeah, so this ain't really, DJ Trump's move. But, again, and it's just, again, it makes that's why Iraq wouldn't try to sit at the table with the motherfucker. You see, I think Iraq only wouldn't really sit at the table with him because you got other nations that, pretty much ushered this peace deal. But I think Trump know that they not going to go. You know what I mean? Because, again, it was already a nuclear deal in place with the Obama administration. And pretty much Trump administration tore it up. So, again, Trump thinks he's just a super suave, super sophisticated businessman when he really ain't, though. How, like what he said he's gonna get the president of Mexico to pay for the wall. They ain't pay for shit, did they? Right. Like the elderly said, this nigga's a jackass. We ain't call him a jackass, but so prepare for the third woe's woe. This is Book of Revelation, chapter 11, because that's all scriptural. 11, going to and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, which that's that 350 years, being pretty much we not being, we being asleep to our nationality, not knowing who we were. But now that's where we're standing. What's that? Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, talks about standing boldly. The righteous man standing boldly, roughly paraphrase. I ain't read that in a minute. So when brothers go out in the highways and hedges week in and week out, prophesying the downfall and basically, trying to give, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians this beautiful gospel, you know what I mean? That's, the righteous man standing boldly, That's being, spirit of life from the Most High entering into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. These elites, they fear this. You know what I mean? That's why, again, think about it. If they didn't fear, why did they got to create a system to basically track everything you're saying? Why is they going to try to weaponize, basically they're going to try to outlaw the Bible because they fear it. Makes you think of the book of Eli. That devil knew with the power of that book. He said, I know the power of it. I remember when I first saw that, I had to watch it like 3 times. I was like, damn, this is, but I think the first time I watched it, I wasn't, I was super negative. And then I watched it again after being in the truth. And like I said, again, it's like you seeing it with new eyes. I was like, damn, this is a bad movie for real. But I ain't gonna lie, from the very first time I watched it, I knew he was blind. I don't know how I don't know how I knew, but I just happened to know he was blind. Before you got to the end of it. So that show you how spiritual of a movie it was, or is rather. Verse 12, and they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither, and they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, which is the chariot or the UFO or the UAP, and their enemies beheld them. And the same hour was there an earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the Most High of heaven. Verse 14, the point. The second woe is past, woe going into destruction. You had the First World War, Second World War, and it says, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly, which is going into or representing that third world war. And like I said, again, just because they say something doesn't mean it's all the will of the Lord. It go either way. That's how I look at it. Yeah, hell no, I don't want to slow down. But at the same time, you got to. How did the devil do? They sit up there talking about, we ain't gonna attack y'all, then attack. You know what I mean? Like, again, you could never trust this man. You know what I mean? Again, the scriptures talk about, like I read in Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, who will pity a serpent. Well, DJ Trump said that he is a snake when he read that poem to these Babylonians. So who gonna really? You can't pity a Babylonian. Play a little bit more of this, and then I'm gonna finish it because I ain't planning on doing this all day. Trying to slow my videos down. I cannot even see this. If you're mom, then you know just how expensive it is to feed a dedicated just to the
of war and the Secretary of War to make contracts with these companies. And this is already happening right now. You guys can see here, General Motors just announced a new defense partnership with Lockheed Martin. So they are now going to be using General Motors factories that typically produce cars and things like that will now be producing weapons. You can see here it says General Motors. And
so I'm gonna check into it more. So again, because like I said, I heard it when he first said it, and then when he said General Motors, because motherfuckers can't afford to buy no cars. The government could afford to have them, and then and that symbolizes again wartime. So scriptures tell you what's that at Isaiah. Man, I can't see shit. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 48. I'm going to start at verse 16. Come ye near unto me, hear ye this. I have not spoken in secret from the beginning. From the time from the time that it was, there am I, and now the Lord Yahweh Shem shall power, and his spirit hath sent me. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Shem Shah, thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. I am the Lord thy power, which teacheth thee to profit, which leadeth thee by the way that thou shouldest go. Oh, that thou hadst hearkened to my commandments, then had thy peace been as a river, and thy righteousness as the waves of the sea. Thy seed also have been as the sand, and the offspring of thy bowels like the gravel thereof. His name should not have been cut off nor destroyed from before me. Go ye forth of Babylon, flee ye from the Chaldeans, who is the modern day Chaldeans, these Edomites. Because this ultimately is going into Jake or Israel, again. Now you got, Jake is wicked, because they commit wicked acts, but you have a nation of people considered the wicked, which is explained in the book of Malachi chapter 1, Esau, Edom, the border of wickedness. It says, with a voice of singing, declare ye, tell this, utter it even to the end of the earth. Say ye, the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua have redeemed his servant Jacob. And they thirsted not when he led them through the deserts. He caused the waters to flow out of the rock for them. He clave the rock also, and the waters gushed out. And that's basically to, the elect, It's always been a remnant, Joseph and Caleb, with the, I believe the little ones, when they watered the wilderness, all the, the wicked of Israel pretty much died off, and it was just Caleb and Joshua, or Joshua and Caleb, that remained, that was able to enter the promised land because of all the complaining and scoffing and everything that Jake was doing. And that's Jake, when you take time to think about it, the Lord really humbled me recently in a lot of different ways. I try not to complain about this happened, that happened. I'm trying to get to the point where I don't say nothing. You know what I'm saying? Just like, even Charles and White bitch ass said something about that. He was like, ain't no point to complain about it because ain't nobody gonna give a fuck. And as a man, we supposed to actually eat that shit, Like I'm playing this game called Red Dead Red Dead Redemption. And, I might have made mention of it before, but not the spoiler alert, but I'm about to spoiler alert. It's a great fucking game, you know what I mean? And again, I think I made mention of this, like it's made by that company Rockstar. Rockstar, again, the mechanics of the game ain't really what keep my attention. It's the story. I like movies, so some games play like a movie. You got actual real actors that they hire to play in these video games, So long story short though, the dude, the main character, he found out he got tuberculosis. So, they gonna make him pretty much, I could tell they're gonna put him in a situation because a lot of these games, how the choice you choose is how the game ends. And he think he a villain, but at the same time, you put in a lot of situations where you could actually help people. So you could be just a cold, cutthroat ass, piece of shit ass bastard like Esau Edom, or you could literally be helping people. But long story short, again, when he find out he got it, he don't tell nobody. He just take it on the chin like old Yeller. And like that's very powerful, you know what I mean? It truly is. It says, and they thirsted not when he led them through the deserts. He caused the waters to flow out of the rock for them, which was, the rock represented Yahweh Shai, our big brother. He clave the rock also, and the waters gushed out. There is no peace, saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, unto the wicked. Now I'm using it to basically represent. Well, I mean, you can look at it Esau, Edom, and Jake, because again, 2/3 of the nation of Israel want this place to bounce back to its former glory, or hoping that it's you know what I mean, like keep on going 20 more years and shit. Like if they got to start sourcing out the work that these major companies do, like GM is a major fucking company. If they not producing cars, well. So in order to stay in business, they got to produce munitions for the government. So that alone should show you that it's over with. I'm not even going to play any more of the video. I'm going to probably bring out this last scripture and end it. So this is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 3. And it reads, for the vision is yet for a appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry, because his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Who is the just? The hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, West Indians, and Haitians, God's true chosen people. Verse 5, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desires hell, and is as deaf, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So if this man's whole mindset, and this is the nature of this man. If he trying to put like Lord of the Rings, one ring to bind them all, one ring above all the other rings. This is what this man mindset is. So how would it ever be peace? So again, no matter what we see in the news, just remember what the scriptures say. And I felt I just needed to bring that out because again, I've been watching a lot of different economists and different individuals' platforms bringing out what Trump is saying, and I know not to believe Trump, but when Iran said it, I was like, okay, maybe there's some truth to it, But again, the Lord could do something right now. We could do something Friday morning. And again, when you go into, pretty much the terms of the deal, America got to give up a lot of shit. Again, I myself believe Iran already has a ICBM. You know what I mean? They rub elbows with Russia that got these things. So why wouldn't they be able to get one? You know what I mean? That'd be just stupid. You know what I mean? To believe, you know what I mean, that they don't have access to, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I just wanted to, report that because, I just happened to come across it. So it was all through the spirit. So if you're so-called black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments of your power, whose true name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, or you will be destroyed. And with that, I want to give all praise, all honor, all glory to call Allah Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem Kodash, double honors to the elders and to my apostles who taught me this truth, peace and salutation to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pursuing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives, as well as their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and the Aqua, thought they're listening and learning, Lord, willingly this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but subscribe to this truth to you. Say shalom. Till next time, Lord willingly, shalom, shalom, Kwam Yasharallah, and Mawatha Lababah.